There's a giant elephant in the room when we talk about abortion and abortion policy.
Sex. Let's talk about sex.
Let him insert his penis into the vagina from behind.
I feel like my mom's gonna kill me when she sees this video.
Hey, y'all, nasty.
Learning about sex by watching porn is like learning how to drive by watching NASCAR.
My family is an amazing, loving family, but we didn't talk about sex at all. It felt like it was bad.
Sex makes people really uncomfortable. As Latinas, we've been really framed by this kind of sexual stigma. Don't act like a puta.
Sexuality is part of freedom. You can't have a conversation around abortion without having a conversation about sex and sex education.
Hi, Asha.
Hey, Monica, and hello, everyone.
Welcome to episode 3 of ENTONCES,
where we look at the ways motherhood, Latina sexuality, abortion, and puta life intersect.
Growing up, Catholicism was very present in my life. My parents were immigrants, and the messages that I got about my body was that sex was bad, desire was bad, that I needed to shut down my body because I really had no tools to know what would be healthy and what was not healthy. I got into a lot of unhealthy relationships. In my third year of college, I got pregnant, and I had my first abortion. And then around 2012, I got pregnant for the second time. And I had my second abortion. I went to a few clinics. They were so negative. They were not at all supporting me with options.
As we've learned from Argentina and El Salvador, it's always poor women, Black women, brown women, Indigenous women, trans men, non-binary people, immigrants, teens, and people living with disabilities that are more likely to encounter compounding obstacles to abortion care and can be harmed as a result. I grew up at a time when there was a huge sort of wave of government neglect on many levels, right? It was the 80s. You know, we had a president that did not recognize that AIDS was a reality, a conservative who put in policies that continue to affect us today.
Reagan was the first presidential nominee to fully embrace the anti-abortion movement, aiming to attract socially conservative voters. But he was definitely not the last.
Anti-abortion leaders are still working to restrict abortion access even further.
Our America is a pro-life nation, proudly.
And they're pushing for policies that'll make things significantly worse.
The Comstock Act, it was primarily about censorship, and it focused on a certain form of sexual obscenity. And it happened to mention that any device or information about contraception and abortion that came through the Postal Service or other common carriers was criminal. In the 1990s, Pat Schroeder had a bill to clean up the Comstock Act and remove the language around abortion, but they never moved forward because there was Roe and there was a general popular understanding, right? We'll always have abortion. This is nutty.
This is a 5-alarm fire, my friends!
As anti-abortion advocates look for new ways to stop the procedure, a 150-year-old law could be at the center of the next fight.
The Comstock Act was meant to ban mailing obscene and lewd items, but it hasn't been enforced in a century.
A Trump-appointed radical judge in Texas relied, in part, on the Comstock Act in his argument for why it should be illegal to mail medication abortion.
And the candidate who wins this next election, they could determine whether the Comstock Act could be resurrected once again.
That's why we need to keep advocating for abortion rights. Also involves addressing other systematic inequalities, expectations that women want to be mothers.
Only bad mothers abandon their children. Only bad mothers want to terminate a pregnancy. That sits at the pinnacle of the patriarchal conceptualization of what femininity and being a good woman is.
And when the only options are good and bad, you can't be a person with nuance. You can't be complicated.
And Western cultures tend to be extremely binary.
I was very unsure of my decisions, and I felt a little shame sometimes. I never had a desire to have children. There was a part of me around motherhood that was just not existent. I believe through my abortions, I've been able to heal this. And I recognize that I am the first in my lineage to be able to have a choice, and that I also have witnessed all of the aspects with my family's experiences of what it means to not have access to abortion, to have to carry to term, and then to deal with those consequences for the rest of your life.
Owning your sexuality, understanding that it is yours to own. You can move in the world as a sexual agent, and that is for you to decide. You can dress like you want, you can fuck like you want, and I think that's a very basic message.
So you can be santa and puta all at once.
We also need to amplify the voices of those directly affected by these issues. Not only women, but also young women, LGBTQ individuals, and marginalized communities, so they can shift this narrative and influence the public perception. Is so important. And we also need to engage with the media and to promote a positive and accurate representation of gender and sexuality to shift these public perceptions around reproductive rights and abortion.
We can't fight for abortion rights without talking about sexual liberation. So read some books, maybe Juana Maria's books. Expand your mind, have empathy, and go vote.